Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for the NSPA webinar, AcademicWorks Comprehensive Scholarship Management Solution. My name is Maggie Brubaker, and on behalf of the NSPA, I would like to welcome and introduce today's presenter, Brandon Phipps. Brandon is the CEO of AcademicWorks, a company providing comprehensive scholarship management solutions for the needs of colleges, universities, and foundations. There are a few technical items I'd like to go through before we begin. First, you can hear me, but I cannot hear you. However, if you have any questions or comments, there's a question box at the very bottom of the expanded control panel. You can click on the orange arrow to expand or collapse your control panel. When you type in your questions, they will go directly to me and I'll address them as they come through or read them to our presenters during the webinar. If you'd like a copy of today's PowerPoint presentation, it will be posted on our website in a couple of weeks or within a week. I will now turn the presentation over to Brandon, and I hope you enjoy the webinar today.
Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate you coordinating everything. To introduce myself, my name is Brandon Phipps. I'm CEO of AcademicWorks. And today we're going to go through a brief overview of AcademicWorks and give you about a 15-minute overview of the company and our solution, our process we go through for implementation and customer service, and then we'll jump into a demonstration that'll probably take about 30 minutes or so. I will stop a couple times throughout the presentation to see if there's any questions from the group. If you do have questions, as Maggie alluded to, just type them into the chat option that's available through the web conferencing software. And starting off, just giving you a quick background on AcademicWorks. The company was founded in 2010 by myself and several other co-founders. We basically spent our entire careers providing different online solutions to colleges, universities, and nonprofit agencies. We've spent about 6 months researching the scholarship management process at over 200 different institutions and foundations around the country, and found that although there were commercially available scholarship management solutions out there, they didn't necessarily fit the needs for the market. So we set out to build a system specifically for institutions and foundations and released the first version of our module in 2011. As you know, with public sector and nonprofits, everyone loves to talk to each other. So by 2012, we had about 80 customers, 175 by 2013. And today we work with over 400 different colleges, universities, and foundations across the country. In terms of who some of those customers are, we work with some of the largest public four-year institutions, but also very small institutions as well. Institutions like University of North Texas, Auburn University, UCLA, USC, Stanford, DePaul University, to name a few. Community colleges, including Austin Community College, Maricopa Community College District, and then foundations like Arizona Community Foundation, Community Foundation of Texas, Community Foundation of Oklahoma, to name a few. So a very broad and wide array of customers that we service, both large organizations with several thousand scholarship funds down to smaller foundations that may have as few as 20 or 30 different scholarship funds. There's two components of AcademicWorks that we'll talk through today during the demonstration. The first is the scholarship management module, and I know we've got a varied audience of both colleges and foundations on the call today. So we'll try and speak to the benefits and how the system is applied across those two distinct groups. In terms of the scholarship management module, we do, for each client, provide a searchable scholarship website where current or prospective students can see all of their available scholarship opportunities. They can search through those using whatever criteria you designate. So it could be by the high school they attended, major if you're a college or university, student groups or activities that they're affiliated with, to try and identify opportunities that might mismatch their search.
Excuse me, Brandon?
We also allow clients to create different...
Brandon, excuse me, sorry. Could you speak up? I just had a request from someone. If you could speak up, please.
Sure. Let me see if I can increase the volume. I'm kind of maxed out from a volume perspective on the phone, but I'll try and speak a little bit closer to the receiver here.
Great, thank you.
We also allow you to create different donor profile pages. So those are pages of information about scholarship donors, where you could publish a picture of the donor, donor biography, student success stories, basically a way to recognize that donor for their generosity. And then you can have links to external scholarship funds as well. So if there's other foundations that you partner with, local high schools, you want to advertise nationally competitive awards, you can provide the student with a listing of other funds that you don't necessarily control the application process for. For colleges and universities, we do offer a very convenient nightly import process where clients can import student record data that can be used as part of the scholarship matching process. That information can be combined with a student's scholarship application and used to automatically match students against every scholarship fund that they're eligible for. For foundations, we create a customized scholarship application form that students can use to be considered for various scholarship funds. And you can have several distinct types of scholarships within the AcademicWorks system. You can have some scholarship funds that are what we refer to as auto-apply, meaning if students meet the criteria, either based on their application, their import data, or both, they're automatically applied to those scholarships without having to take any further action. Or you can have recommended scholarship opportunities. And those are scholarships that might require additional information beyond what you have on your general application. So those could be nationally competitive awards. It might be a local foundation that you work very closely with, where, or they might be just funds that require an essay response, for example, beyond what's on your general application. A common example might be if you have a nursing scholarship and the donor wants the student to respond to an essay question of why the student wants to be a nurse. You could ask that one distinct question only of students who were in the nursing program based on either their import data or their general application. Students are automatically applied to scholarships, or they're applying to the ones that they're recommended for. And if you have review committees, we have a very flexible process for assigning and monitoring your reviewers. You can either review by the student's application, or you can review by fund. So for example, if you have a general scholarship review committee, you can automatically assign within AcademicWorks how many times each application needs to be reviewed. Or if you have scholarship-specific reviews where a donor has different criteria and they want community service, for example, to be weighted more highly in the review process, you could actually ask the students to, or ask the system to set up a separate review committee just for that individual fund. When you make awards in the AcademicWorks system, we can provide you with information on how much a student has already received in other scholarships to better direct that awarding process. We can also show you import data from your student record system in terms of how much money the student can take in overall aid and how much money they've already received in other institutional aid that might have been awarded outside of the system. If students receive an award, they get an automated email from the AcademicWorks system prompting them to log in, review that award, and accept it. As part of the award acceptance process, students can be prompted to submit a thank you letter or other form of donor acknowledgement. So it could be a picture of themselves, a biography, or personal statement. It's really entirely up to you. And you can either export those awards out of the AcademicWorks system as a CSV file or an Excel spreadsheet, or we do have for our college and university clients an API that allows them to automatically pull that award data out of the AcademicWorks system so it can be written back to their other campus administrative systems. In terms of the second module that AcademicWorks offers, we do provide a very efficient way for both colleges, universities, and foundations to manage their scholarship renewal process. The renewal management module allows you to create multiple renewal disbursements within the system. So if you have a scholarship that's renewable for a period of 4 years and you pay it out in fall, spring, the renewal management module allows you to create all of those future payments and record them in the system. You can also set qualification criteria associated with each one of those renewal periods. So if a student has to retain a 3.0, or they have to submit another thank you letter each year if you're a foundation or proof of enrollment, the system can automatically remind the students to log in and submit that additional information. Or it could qualify or disqualify them for a college or university based on the information that's being imported nightly from their student data record. If students are not qualified for a scholarship, they're automatically flagged by the AcademicWorks system, and you can choose to cancel an award. If a student's away on internship, you could just defer a payment where you're not making a payment in that particular term or disbursement period, or you can go ahead and pay that award if you choose to and mark it as being payable. I wanted to stop there and just see, Maggie, are there any questions from the group thus far?
No questions at this point.
Okay, we'll continue on then. In terms of implementation of AcademicWorks, it ranges from about 90 to 120 days in duration. We go through a very comprehensive implementation process with each client. Initially, we ask you for a listing of all of your current scholarship funds and fund descriptions, and all of your current application forms if you have multiple application forms for your different scholarship funds. Our consultants review those documents and come back with a recommendation of what fields should be included in your AcademicWorks system. In addition, what fields should be included on the general application, and what fields, if you're a college or university, should be imported from your student record system. If you are going to be importing data from a student record system, we'd work with your IT group to make sure that import process is coming over correctly. Work with you to set the qualifying criteria on each one of your scholarship funds so the right students are matching to the right fund. Go through comprehensive administrative training, and then we'll ask you to go through a testing process as well, just to make sure that the on-screen instructions and the nomenclature make sense to students. Once you go live, we offer a world-class experience in terms of customer service and support. We have unlimited phone, email, and chat support, on-demand training videos covering just about every administrative aspect of the system. So if you forget how to set up a new fund, you can watch a brief video on how to do so. We also do both beginner and advanced web trainings about 10 to 12 times per month on different topics. So if you're not using a specific component of the system because you're not familiar with it, or you're a new customer and you just want to get a base level understanding of how AcademicWorks functions, we have webinars available with our trainer where you can ask questions via webinar like we're on today. We also have an annual client conference that's held in Austin, Texas each year. Next to NSPA, it's probably one of the largest gatherings of scholarship administrators in the country. Last year we had about 190 people that attended. This year there'll probably be about 250. And it's a great opportunity to exchange ideas and best practices with other foundations, colleges, and universities on both how they're using the AcademicWorks system and how they're moving their scholarship process forward. For those of you that are a college or university, in terms of data integration, it's very simple in terms of setting up. We take a nightly CSV import from the institution of all of the relevant students that could be considered for scholarships. Students can log in using their existing campus credentials, and you can export your award data out of AcademicWorks either as a CSV or using an API if you want to write an automated process to grab your award data to write back to another campus system. And before we jump over into the demonstration, I just wanted to check, Maggie, to see if there were any questions that have come through thus far.
Yes, there's one question from Melanie. She says, I am wondering how time-consuming it is to set the application forms up initially.
Sure. We can go through and take a look at that. In terms of the initial application, that's something that we do for you during the implementation process. However, on an ongoing basis, you can make changes to your application in AcademicWorks very easily. So on the screen, we'll take a look at how to set up new questions within the AcademicWorks system. This is a listing of all of your application fields within AcademicWorks and the order with which they appear to the student. If you wanted to change an application field, the order, you just simply grab it and drag it and drop it wherever you want it to go. If you want to make a field required, you simply check a box, and that field becomes a required field within the system. If you want to add a brand new field that doesn't currently exist, let's say, for example, you wanted to add a field for student activities, you can just type that field in. And you can choose what type of field this is going to be. Since it's student activities, it'll probably be a multi-select list. And you can type in your choices or answer choices down below. Choose whether you want students to be able to search for scholarships based upon their student activities, or whether you want to import the list of student activities from your campus student information system. Once that field is created, it's now a question that can appear on the general application form, and it's also an operator that you can use to qualify or disqualify students against various scholarship funds. Are there any other questions so far, Megan?
Yes, another question came in. It says, we manage over 70 different scholarships with unique criteria. Do you need to set up 70 different unique applications in your process?
Absolutely not. What we would do during the implementation process is we would take a look at all of your various applications, and we would come up with a recommendation in terms of what information should be included in your AcademicWorks system. So we'd be reviewing those applications in advance to consolidate all that information into one general application form, and also make recommendations in terms of whether certain questions should be set up in the AcademicWorks system as a recommendation to the student, to where there might be certain questions that are asked only if students meet other criteria in the system. So students go through one streamlined process where they complete a general application and they might answer some scholarship-specific questions instead of filling out different application forms for each one of your scholarship funds. Any other questions so far?
No, Melanie just says thanks.
I'm sorry?
Melanie just says thank you for your answers.
Oh, okay. No problem at all. Let me jump back and share the screen again. And hopefully. So we'll start off and take a look at the system from the perspective of an applicant, and then we'll jump over into a demonstration from the administrator and reviewer perspective before we go through awarding and reporting. From a student's perspective, they can see all of your available scholarship opportunities. They can search through those funds using whatever criteria you designate. The idea behind the scholarship search site is not so that students are going in and applying for individual scholarships. It's basically to encourage them to complete the general scholarship application form so they can be automatically matched or qualified against your various scholarship funds. So you could allow students to search for scholarships based upon the high school they attended, student activities that they might be associated with, student groups, or they could just do a keyword search of all of the funds that are out there. If they click on a fund, they can read more information about that fund. They can also click on where it says donor and pull up a donor's profile page. So I could see a picture of the donor, donor biography, or student success stories that appear on that donor's profile page. This same profile page would also appear if the student received an award from this fund. They could be prompted to submit a thank you letter to the donor, and they'd have a little bit more information to kind of guide them as they did so. If students are interested in applying for scholarships, they go through and they're prompted to complete one general application process. That application can include any information that you'd like. So you could have single or multi-select questions, documents the students are requested or required to upload. If you require references as part of your application process, that can be accommodated as well. Students can enter in the name and the email address of the individual that's providing a recommendation on their behalf. The system would automatically email that recommendation provider and ask that they submit a confidential letter of reference on behalf of the student. The student's able to see that the recommendation has been requested, but they can't see the content of that recommendation. And it doesn't have to be just a recommendation letter that the students are submitting. It could be a series of questions that you're asking the reference provider to respond to about the student, or they could rate the student against specific criteria as well. If you're a college or university, you can actually also show the student information that's being imported from their student data record. So this is information the student is not entering in, which reduces the overall length of the application form and helps with the application completion process. But it also means there's a lot of already pre-verified data that you know about the student that can be used in the matching process against various scholarship funds. If you're a large campus, you may also be very decentralized, in which case you might have certain colleges or departments or programs that have individual applications themselves. In that case, the system can identify which college that student is affiliated with and can present them with a conditional application with a few questions the student needs to respond to just for the College of Business. And then finally, you might have scholarship-specific questions, so certain questions that are only associated with one scholarship fund. You don't necessarily want to put those questions on your general application because it can make that application form very long, and there might be a lot of information that's not necessarily relevant to certain students. So we can show students a list of recommended scholarships, and students can be prompted to respond to questions associated with just those funds. So in the case of this international scholarship, the system's asking me, do I hold dual citizenship? What's my background with international studies? And I'm being asked to provide a reference just specifically for this international scholarship. If students receive a scholarship award, they'll get an email from the system prompting them to log in and review that award online. They could be asked to accept that award and all the conditions associated with getting and retaining that scholarship. They can also link out to a donor's profile page to learn more about the donor that's sponsoring this particular scholarship award. And they might even be asked to submit a thank you letter or donor acknowledgement as well. And you can customize this form for each one of your scholarship funds, or choose to not ask for an acknowledgement for funds that you may no longer steward where there's no living donor. You could ask the student to upload a thank you letter if you want something that's handwritten, or they could enter the information into a text box if you want to have the flexibility to be able to modify it down the road. You could even ask students to upload a picture of themselves or biography or personal statement, or to attend a donor appreciation luncheon if that's something that you have at your specific institution. I wanted to just stop there, Maggie, and just see if there are any questions regarding the student experience from the group.
I don't see any questions at this time.
Okay. From an administrator's perspective, you're able to see all of the various scholarship funds across your entire institution or foundation. We import these at the outset of the implementation process. But if you have a new fund that you need to create, you can enter in the key information about that specific scholarship. So that could include the name of the fund, and I might have just lost my internet. See if I can. There we go. So if you have a new fund that you need to create, you can enter in the name of that fund, the fund ID code, the description for that scholarship. You can choose whether you want to have a general review committee or whether you want to have a scholarship-specific review committee just for this one individual fund. Are there going to be conditional applications that are tied to it? So is this a fund that appears under the College of Business where you want students responding to a series of questions? You can also put in a start date. That's the first day a student would be matched against the scholarship, and an end date. So that's the last day they'd be considered for the scholarship. One of the unique facets of AcademicWorks is that all of your scholarship funds don't have to start and end on the same day. So you could have a scholarship that comes in the middle of the summer that falls outside of your normal cycle. You can create that scholarship in the system and immediately have a list of eligible students that appear on that scholarship fund. If you do have a scholarship-specific review group, On this begin review period, that group would receive an email from the system prompting them to log in and begin conducting their reviews. And if you have a large number of scholarship funds, we can mass import the available fund amount that you have for each one of those scholarships. So as you're making awards, the system will automatically tell you once you've depleted the funds for that account, and you can more easily monitor the activities associated with awarding to see if there's any money left in any of your various funds. You can choose whether this fund is going to be one students are automatically applied to or one they have to specifically apply for. Or it could be an external scholarship, one that you don't control the application process for, but you might want students to know about. In that case, you enter the URL of where students need to go in order to apply. Once the fund is set up, you can set the qualification criteria that students have to meet in order to be eligible for this scholarship. So in this case, a student has to have a GPA greater than 3.0 or be associated with the College of Business or Education. However, I can also tell the system that a student has to have greater than or equal to 12 credit hours and add that as a qualifier. And this could be information, if you're a college or university, that's imported from the student's data record, or it could be information that's collected as part of the application process. I could also designate that I want a student to be an Eagle Scout. When I've set those criteria, now a student needs to meet all 4 of those qualifiers in order to be considered eligible for this particular award. Once you activate a scholarship in the system, you'll see a listing of all of the students that meet the eligibility requirements for the scholarship fund. I'm losing my internet here. I apologize. So here's my listing of students that meet the eligibility requirements for a specific scholarship. I can see every piece of information that's either been imported or entered by the student as part of the application process. And I can filter on this list. So I already know that everybody that appears in this list meets the requirements for the Paul Berg Scholarship. But if I wanted to filter, say for example, a donor had a preference for students from Westlake High School, I could filter to see if there's anybody that meets the minimum qualifications, but also meets those preferred criteria. Maybe they want somebody who's an Eagle Scout as well. So now I know there's 2 students that meet all of both the minimum criteria as well as the donor's preferred criteria. So it allows you to very quickly narrow that field down. You can even move columns of information around. So if there's certain fields that you care about more, you can add or remove columns from your view very quickly and save that view. So this almost becomes a custom report generator where you can generate specific views of all of your applicants, all of your scholarship awards, all of your scholarship opportunities, and create different views and save those views so that they're available for you on an ongoing reporting basis. You can even export information out of the system as a CSV. So if you want to open it up in Excel, it gives you a lot of flexibility to do so. For your review committee members, they're able to log into the system and they'll see a listing of all of the students they need to conduct reviews for. If I click on to begin the review process, I can bring up a side-by-side view where I see the application information on one side of the screen, and I can rate that student on the other side of the screen. So they're not constantly having to switch back and forth between screens in order to rate or evaluate the student. The system will automatically add together the various committee reviewer scores, place them on a 100-point scale. So when you go in and take a look at the list of all of the eligible applicants within the AcademicWorks system, you can sort by that reviewer score, see which students scored the highest. You can also see other key information to help you guide your awarding decisions, including whether or not the student has already received other scholarships. So some of you might have rules by which you'll only award a student up to a certain amount, say $1,000, or you want to award everybody something before you start doubling awards on a particular student. So I could sort and see which students have yet to receive a scholarship award and go in and make them an offer. If I go in to make an award, I can enter in the view information on how much money remains in the fund, how much money a student has already received in other scholarships, and I can type in an amount that I'd like to award this particular student. If I exceed the amount of money that's available in the fund, the system's going to flash up a warning message and tell me that I'm overextending that fund. So it's just the checks and balance to make sure that you're not overextending your scholarships. And then we have some comprehensive reports that show all of your funds that have remaining balances so that you're not underutilizing your available money either. And Maggie, I just wanted to stop there and just see if there are any questions from the group at all.
There's another question from Melanie about the cost. She says, will you talk about cost for the system today?
Sure. The cost, because of the wide range of folks that we have on today's call, is going to vary pretty dramatically. Our costs range anywhere from $6,000 per year on up for the institutions that we work with, and there's a nominal implementation fee as well. But we'd be happy to put together an individual proposal for you if you'd like. And I believe there's a survey response going out, but we can reach out to everybody afterwards. Or my email address will be provided after the presentation as well. So if you do want an individual proposal or an individual presentation specific to your foundation or institution, please let us know. In terms of other reports within the system, we have reports showing all of your various scholarship awards. And you can create, as I alluded to earlier, custom views of this information. So if I wanted to take a look at all of the students that have received awards and every piece of information that appears in this report, so you can filter by high school if you wanted to, if you're a foundation and you're heading to their graduations and make awards, to see all students awarded out of a particular high school or city, or all the students who are going to a specific college or university. Makes it very easy to filter on that information using the available tools. If you want to create custom views of this information, that's very easy as well. You can add or remove columns from your view, as we kind of talked about earlier. So for colleges and universities, you may want to just see a few pieces of information about these awards, including the student ID, the fund ID code, the term that that award is relevant for, the amount of that award, and it gives you the ability to kind of parse that information down very quickly into a customized report that you can easily export from the system as a CSV file. Or you can go through and take a look at all of the students that had submitted thank you letters if you're part of a donor stewardship function or part of the advancement office within your college or university. You can download that information very quickly out of the system as well. We also have reports that show every single scholarship fund. And how much money, for example, remains in that fund, how many students meet the eligibility requirements for that scholarship, how much money was initially allocated to be awarded. So this gives you very valuable checks and balance to make sure that you're actually spending down all of your available funds as well. In terms of communications and some of the system settings, you can modify all of the automated email communications that go out of the AcademicWorks system. All of those templates are available to you. Our annual maintenance fee includes unlimited phone, email support, upgrades, technical support, and also any change requests that you might have. So, but however, just about any change that we can enact within the system, you can easily do as well, in terms of adding new fields within AcademicWorks, changing your email templates, modifying your import and export settings. Even the colors and logo for your site can be changed by the client. And Maggie, are there any additional questions from the group at all?
No questions at this time.
Okay. Well, in terms of concluding, as I mentioned, we'd be happy to set up an individual presentation. I know there's a mix of types of institutions and foundations on the call today, and all of you would use AcademicWorks in a very different fashion. So if you do want to arrange an individual presentation, please let us know. We'd also be happy to put together a pricing proposal for you specific to your foundation or institution. Our pricing is based on student enrollment if you're a college or university, and the number of funds that you have. And for foundations, it's really just the number of funds that you have within the foundation. And in terms of upcoming events, AcademicWorks, we will be at NASFA, the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators, beginning on Monday of next week. We'll also be at NSPA in the fall, so we're looking forward to that conference as well. But I appreciate everybody's time for taking a look today. I appreciate, Maggie, you serving as the facilitator. And I will stick around in case there are any other questions from the group.
Great, thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it. I don't see any other questions, but you are welcome to type in your questions if you have any remaining ones. I'll go ahead and do my closing in the meantime. As a reminder, this webinar was recorded. The recording and all supporting documents will be posted on the NSPA website by next Wednesday. This concludes the NSPA webinar today. Thank you for joining us and have a great rest of the day. And I do not see any questions at this time, so thanks all of you for joining. Thank you, Brandon, for the information.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.